Come on, we got to get closer. Chief.
Okay.
You're up. Come on.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the fire station number 3 here in Lancaster City. I would like to thank everyone for attending today, with special thanks to Mayor Sirachi, Governor Shapiro, City Council members, and other elected officials, and the members in attendance from the Fire Bureau. Thank you for your sacrifices as you provide the essential services in keeping our residents safe. When we think about public safety, we often focus on law enforcement and crime prevention. However, we must recognize the vital role that our firefighters, EMS providers, and 911 dispatch centers play in keeping our communities safe. The dispatchers, firefighters, and EMS personnel are often the first line of response to emergencies. They are often the first to arrive on the scene of a fire, medical emergency, or natural disaster. And they all work together tirelessly to provide critical care and support. This does not come without a high cost, one which continues to rise with budgets remain tight. Fire departments and emergency response agencies rely on this limited funding to purchase and maintain equipment, train personnel, and provide necessary resources for responding to emergencies. To outfit just one firefighter with proper personal protective equipment and provide mandatory training is over $10,000. The cost of a new fire engine is currently over $740,000. And a new ladder truck is well over $1 million. Supporting firefighters and first responders with funding is an essential way to ensure that they have the resources they need to continue to protecting our communities and keeping us safe. In addition to funding, it is important to advocate for policies and regulations that support for firefighters and first responders. This includes ensuring these professionals have access to adequate health care and mental health resources, as well as advocating for improvements in safety and working conditions. Again, I would like to thank Governor Shapiro for his support and dedication for making all of Pennsylvania a safer place to live and continue to give our first responders the tools and resources needed to do our jobs. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tom Cook. I am the State Fire Commissioner in the acting capacity for the moment, finalizing my process to confirmation. I will be the first State Fire Commissioner confirmed as a member of the Governor's Cabinet, and I'd like to thank Governor Shapiro for the opportunity to serve you all in the role of Fire Commissioner. I also want to thank the Lancaster Fire Department and the City of Lancaster for the opportunity to come out and listen to the needs of the Lancaster Fire Department, which represents parallel needs, if not the same needs, of the Commonwealth firefighters. These men and women that serve our public risk their health and welfare, and in some cases their lives, providing service to the communities within the Commonwealth. It is our obligation and duty to support them, and I am looking forward to the responsibility put on me to administer the governor's budget once we get it passed. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Commissioner.
So welcome, everyone. It is timely to have you here at Station 3. Governor Shapiro, you're a little late. We actually had a big party on Saturday to cut the ribbon for this beautiful new facility on behalf of the City of Lancaster. We are deeply committed to public safety, celebrating 141 years of continuous service of the Fire Bureau here in the City of Lancaster, which we celebrated also on Saturday. So we're sorry we missed you, but we're glad you're here today.
Thank you.
Ensuring public...
That was the old, having said that, now let me say this routine of, you missed us.
You missed it, but you're here today, so we're really happy about that. And you had an opportunity to meet with some of our staff today, which I really appreciate. Ensuring public safety is not only a required duty of the City of Lancaster, but also our most vital responsibility. And our residents rely on us to help them when they need help. I recently ended my term as the president of the Pennsylvania Municipal League, and while I had that opportunity, I got to talk to a lot of mayors, a lot of township supervisors, and other folks across Pennsylvania who will tell you that providing public safety services to their residents is an immense financial challenge. 60% of our budget here in the City of Lancaster goes specifically to public safety, and that is a commitment that we need to continue to invest in and maintain over time. Our career department here with our professional firefighters, state-of-the-art apparatus, mostly, we're still working on that, providing services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're responding within minutes. We can be on the scene within 3 minutes, and this level of protection should be available to everyone, no matter where they live in Pennsylvania. Operating a sound government is one of our key priorities here in Lancaster. That means both running efficient and effective government. With rising costs, nearly flat revenues, and continued obligations that we need to fulfill, this equation gets more and more difficult with every passing year. We need partnership to be able to ensure that we're able to meet the needs, the most basic needs of Pennsylvanians every day. And we are looking to the governor and appreciate his partnership coming here today and helping us bring this message to Harrisburg. Governor Shapiro's budget offers needed support to cities like Lancaster to maintain and elevate our Fire Bureau's work. And we know that the Fire Bureau is just one piece that needs support here in the city. Regionally, it's very important that we have a strong EMS response and 911 dispatch as well. And so having those things being highlighted in the governor's budget this year is very important. It's a conversation that we're going to need to continue. And I look forward to having that with Governor Shapiro as well as our delegation from Lancaster County. So it's now my pleasure to introduce somebody whose father served the City of Lancaster Fire Bureau, recording secretary for Pennsylvania Professional Firefighters Association, Kevin Ressler. And captain, I might add.
Good morning. As the mayor said, my name is Kevin Ressler. I'm the recording secretary of the Pennsylvania Professional Firefighters Association and a proud 23-year member of IFF Local 319, which is a union representing the firefighters here in the city of Lancaster. Governor Shapiro has been a longtime ally of the firefighters and EMS personnel of the PPFFA, even before becoming governor. As a state legislator and county commissioner, he knows what we do as first responders is provide the frontline defense of responding to emergencies. I have been explaining to my young daughter what Daddy and his coworkers do is show up for people when they need it the most. For many, we serve the worst day of their lives. This initial investment is a step towards addressing firefighter and EMS staffing, equipment, training, and salaries, so we can continue to provide that service. We thank the governor for his efforts. Two other things that the governor knows concerns us is the mental health issues that the toll of being a first responder takes on us individually and the health risks that we all endure every day. In the PA House of Representatives and Senate, there are bills being introduced to define post-traumatic stress as an injury. This would allow firefighters to get the help they need so they can get back to helping and serving their communities. Also, there is a bill in the state Senate that would ban PFAS from equipment and find alternative measures to keep us safe, along with House Bill 683 in the State House, introduced by our very own Representative Sterla, that would ban the use of PFAS in firefighting foam. The PFAS in the personal protective gear we wear, along with the equipment we carry with us daily, has shown to cause cancer. According to the IFF, the International Association of Firefighters, last year, 74% of the firefighter and line of duty deaths were because of occupationally contracted cancer. None of these issues stand apart from one another. They are all intertwined in the complexity of providing adequate and immediate fire and EMS service. Thankfully, we know the governor is aware of this. And with that said, it is my honor and privilege to introduce Governor Shapiro to the podium.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Kevin, thank you for those comments. Thank you for your leadership. Thanks for having my back. I will continue to have yours. And I'm glad that you highlighted some of those important bills on mental health, on PFAS, and others. It is my hope that we will get those through the legislature. They're common sense. They're good for firefighters. They're good for communities. And maybe if the mayor invites me back, if I haven't ticked her off too much by being late and missing her event on Saturday, maybe we could even sign those bills here, particularly since Representative Sterla is one of the sponsors. I thank you, Kevin, for your leadership. And To my good friend Mayor Sirachi, I like to think that I'm actually early for next year's celebration, not late for the one over the weekend. But one of the things I appreciate about the mayor and about the way in which she has led here in Lancaster is that she's focused on common sense solutions and actually on getting stuff done every single day, on asking questions. I see we have a fan of the mayor's over here, of asking questions about why we do things a certain way, cutting through the red tape and actually addressing those challenges going forward. And I appreciate that about you, Mayor, and I applaud you for that. And it's something that I endeavored to do as governor of this Commonwealth. I want to thank Chief Hutchinson, Captain Ressler, and the rest of the leaders here in Lancaster. You know, you all are, I think, the envy of others across this Commonwealth. This beautiful facility that you have built, thanks to vision, thanks to local resources, and thanks to state resources, Representative Sterla, it is really important that this not be the outlier, that this become the norm for our firefighters across this Commonwealth. And I'll be enlisting all of you to help me go and sell the kind of investments I want to make in this Commonwealth, in our firefighters, in our first responders, in law enforcement. And the reason I'm going to ask you to do that is because I believe fundamentally Pennsylvanians have a right to both be safe and feel safe in their communities. You know, as a new governor, you outline your priorities. The first major opportunity you have to do that is in your first budget. And my first budget was loaded with common sense ideas on how we could make our communities safer and stronger. I would note my first budget was also fiscally conservative, $3 billion more conservative than what the Harrisburg Independent Fiscal Office considers to be conservative. And they're pretty conservative themselves. This is a budget that cuts taxes, doesn't raise them, but still puts us in a position where we can make critical investments in our communities. And to me, one of the most fundamental things a government needs to do is ensure the safety and well-being of its citizens. So yes, my budget does invest more in policing, state police and municipal police. And my budget makes sure that we invest heavily when it comes to 911 and EMS and fire. Here's why. Because right now, as we seek to create a safe community for our citizens, we are dealing with workforce shortages on those people who work on the front lines. Consider this for a moment. Career fire departments like this one are struggling to keep up staffing-wise and also with the rise in equipment costs and other things that make that dollar that they had last year not go as far as it does this year. When it comes to volunteer firefighters, back in 2018, the last time we did a comprehensive statewide review, we had 22,000 fewer firefighters in 2018 than we had in the early 2000s. We had at least 6,000 fewer EMS compared to 2012. So at a time where the need is growing, we had a private conversation upstairs where several of the firefighters talked to me about the needs expanding for them in the community. So at a time where the needs are expanding in a community, where more is being asked of our firefighters and our emergency medical technicians, that's the same time where we're seeing staffing go down. We have to change those trends. Resources from the Commonwealth will help that. It's also critically important that we speak in a unified voice and point out that being a firefighter is a noble profession. Being a police officer is a noble profession. We need to make sure that the community respects those who are on the front lines fighting for us each day. We got to get our firefighters, our EMS, our police officers back in our schools to show young people the nobility in this type of service. And we need to change that trajectory. At the same time, the Commonwealth needs to come up with more resources to not only fund those professional firefighters' salaries, benefits, et cetera, but also to make sure that equipment like this gets replaced on a regular basis so that you have what you need in order to keep the rest of us safe. We are committed to doing that work. Our fire commissioner has a long track record of doing that work, and he will do it for me as the leader in my administration. In addition to that, we have lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, one who is with us today in Representative Sterla, who care deeply about making these investments. And we have local government leaders like Mayor Sirachi, who doesn't just represent Lancaster, but actually represents a coalition of mayors across this Commonwealth who understand how critical these investments are, and most importantly, who have my attention and the attention of this administration in order to make these investments. I think we also have to recognize, and every police officer, every firefighter, every EMS personnel, every mental health professional will tell you that if they can get to a place more quickly, if they can get out on the scene of a crime, a fire, an acute incident more quickly, they can have a better effect on whatever that emergency is. Yet right now, we are understaffed in our 911 centers, and every county relies on a county 911 center. We are understaffed by 20%, meaning we have 20% fewer staff today in our 911 centers than we should have. At the same time, costs have risen over the last couple of years in these 911 centers by 23%. You sensing a theme here? Rising costs of materials, of technology, and at the same time, decreasing numbers of personnel to do this critically important work. So my budget seeks to invest in all of these common sense efforts. We are putting $50 million in new money into our 911 dispatch system with sustainable funding that includes a cost of living increase year after year. We're investing $127 million, which is a $36 million increase in new money for equipment, training, and salaries to support firefighters and first responders. In addition to that, we are working to cut through some of the red tape that is holding up reimbursements, that is stymieing grant opportunities. And in the case of our EMS personnel, that is slowing down or stopping altogether reimbursements when they go out and make those calls to keep us safe. Listen, investing in safer communities, it shouldn't be a partisan issue. This shouldn't be something that divides us. This shouldn't be something where there's a Democratic position and a Republican position. This is common sense stuff. And my budget seeks to bring common sense solutions to the most pressing problems in our communities today. I came here to Lancaster today because this is an example of how to do it right. This is an example of a community that has its act together. But it's also an example of a community that still needs our assistance. And we're prepared to both use this as an example, hold Lancaster up as what we want to do across the state, but also meet our obligations in Harrisburg to fund those who are on the front lines taking care of all of us. So I want to thank you all for being with us today. With that, the mayor's graciously agreed to answer all of the questions you have for me, so fire away.
Governor, the fire and particularly EMS officials I've talked to have said they're in crisis, and while they appreciate some of these one-time payments, what they need is a steady source of income moving forward. I know that one representative from Crawford County, Rep. Roy, has introduced a few measures to redirect some county taxes towards local EMS. Do you have any other plans in place for recurring payments?
Sure. Well, first off, everything I'm proposing in my budget would be recurring. Hopefully the legislature will adopt my budget. In addition to that, many of those recurring payments have cost of living increases, like the 911 as just one example. There are others. I also think it's important that we listen to local governments and support them in being more effective and efficient. Let me explain what I mean and how it's in my budget. For too long, Harrisburg has said to a mayor, to a county commissioner, here's the way you have to serve your community if you want our money. That to me is not the right approach. It actually stymies innovation. It takes away the power, the authority from a duly elected mayor or county commissioner. And by the way, having been a county commissioner, a local government official before, I believe that's where the rubber meets the road. And we should empower those local officials. So my budget puts millions of dollars in new funding into municipal planning and allows the municipal governments to come to the Commonwealth and say, as one example, we have a plan to consolidate police departments or fire departments, you name it. And we're looking to you, Commonwealth, for some resources to help us in that consolidation. there will be additional resources available for that. So before we take away local tax dollars from a mayor, a county commissioner, et cetera, I think we should be adding to that pot. And my budget does just that. So we want to encourage innovation. We want to encourage collaboration. We want to encourage these mayors and others to come work with the Commonwealth and have us support that, as opposed to the Commonwealth dictating to them how they should go about delivering services to their constituents.
Governor, how is the budget proposal being, on this subject, how's it being received by the Republicans?
You know, I've had really good conversations with leaders in all four caucuses. Obviously, you know, and I said this during my budget address, if you were able to stay awake for all 85 minutes of it, you probably heard me talk about the historic nature of the leaders in Harrisburg. A woman leading the House for the first time ever, a woman leading the Senate for the first time ever, one a Republican, one a Democrat. Nothing passes in Harrisburg unless it passes her chamber and her chamber now. Point there is to state the obvious. We are a divided government that is going to necessitate common sense solutions, bipartisan solutions, and that's what I've proposed in my budget. I've heard from lawmakers a lot of support for this type of support and funding for police and fire and EMS. I've heard that on both sides of the aisle. I'm anxious for lawmakers to put their ideas on the table on how we can fund and support police, fire, EMS, and I'll look forward to working with lawmakers of both parties in order to get this done. I'm confident that we'll find common ground on these issues. Steve.
CCAP has made this a big issue for them, a big priority. Your experience as a Montgomery County Commissioner, how has that impacted the budget proposal that you made for police, fire, and law?
Yeah, Steve, look, as an example, Steve referenced the fact that CCAP, the County Commissioners Association, similar to the municipal league that the mayor was talking about at the city level, has made funding 911 centers their top priority. And when it comes to this budget, I think what you'll see is a reflection of common sense things that are going to be needed to help our communities. As a county commissioner, we didn't have a lot of time to focus on partisan bickering. I know the mayor doesn't have time for that. And as governor, I sure as hell don't have time for that. We got to get back to legislating by bringing people together. We got to get back to common sense solutions. I think my training as a county commissioner has prepared me well for that. And I think the ideas that the mayors and county commissioners and others have brought forward are common sense and are things, to the question the gentleman asked me a moment ago, are things that can bring Republicans and Democrats together. That's what we need more of in Harrisburg. Stop the infighting, stop the division, bring people together to get things done.
Off topic, happy Passover to you and your family. What do you guys do tonight, and do you have a holiday message for Pennsylvania?
Well, thank you. First off, I want to wish everyone a happy Passover, happy Easter. This should be a time of peace and happiness and celebration for you, your family, and your friends. And hopefully, I'm not jinxing anything here, Chief. Hopefully, it'll be a quiet night at the fire station as well. The First Lady and my family and I are going to be blessed to be celebrating Passover for the first time in the governor's residence. And we'll be opening up our doors to people from the Harrisburg community to join us in our Passover Seder. It is indeed an honor to live in the governor's residence and to have the opportunity to be part of this Harrisburg community, in the Harrisburg community. And to think about this great country we live in, where people can practice their faith openly, where people can know that they will be respected for their faith, no matter who they worship or when, or if they choose to worship at all. And my message to all Pennsylvanians is just that we should value and embrace our freedom, no matter what you look like, where you come from, who you love, who you pray to or choose not to pray to. Pennsylvania, in the spirit of Penn, should be a welcoming place for all. And the notion that the First Family would be able to celebrate their holiday in the governor's residence, whether you celebrate that holiday or not, I think should be something that lifts everyone up and makes everyone feel a sense of pride. Thank you.
I have a question either for the mayor or the chief. What is the complement of the fire department now, or what should it be, and where do you stand? I notice you have these hiring things in there, where you're probably down.
I think we have time for one.
Good, Chief.
So we're fortunate. Right now we have 2 in the Fire Academy at Harrisburg, and with the upcoming application process, we'll be hiring up to 3 more. So we're fortunate in our recruiting efforts and having our department staffed at this time. And about fully staffed, yep. A long way from, I think the mayor mentioned it earlier, we brought, in the last 2 years, we brought on 17 firefighters, which for our complement of 62, that's a lot of firefighters at one time to bring on and train.
Let me just add to that. Chief obviously can speak about their complement here. I was at the Altoona Fire Company, was it yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago maybe, and they were fully staffed as well. But one of the challenges they're having there, and Chief, I don't know if this is an issue for you here, but we're seeing this across the Commonwealth, is even if you have a professional fire company like this fully staffed, when other departments are not staffed around them, that puts an added burden on the folks here. And so we're seeing that even in the case of a highly functioning, fully staffed company like this one, when others around them don't have the resources, that really puts a pinch here. I know that was the case in Altoona, and that's something we're seeing across this Commonwealth.
On your tax credit for police teachers and nurses, some have kind of questioned how effective it can be for the reason that it's a tax credit, where some people who need certifications, they might have an upfront cost for that. For some people who are wondering about that, what's your response?
Sure. Well, first off, we have a crisis, a workforce crisis in this Commonwealth. We don't have enough people on the front lines doing the jobs necessary in our communities. We've spoken at length this morning about firefighters, for example. Where we have an incredibly acute need is in 3 particular areas. We don't have enough police, we don't have enough teachers, and we don't have enough nurses. Obviously, they all do very different things, but I think we can all agree they're essential in our community, and they're on the front lines. And one of the things we try and do is come up with common sense solutions to reverse those trends. One of those ideas that we've put forth is to give each of those professions, when you're newly certified, either because you're a new teacher, as an example, or you come from another state and get your certification here, we'll put up to $2,500 back in your pocket for at least the next 3 years, and as an incentive for you to do this work, but also as a sign of respect for you doing that work. I've had a lot of Republicans and Democrats tell me that they think it's a great idea. It's obviously fully paid for. If someone doesn't like the idea, they don't get to just say no and ignore the needs of our police, as an example. They have to come to the table with an idea that's hopefully better, that can pass the House and the Senate and get to my desk. There's no pride of authorship here. If someone's got a better idea, I'm looking forward to working with them on that. But we must right now address these workforce shortages, and I look forward to working with Republicans and Democrats alike to incorporate their ideas into the conversation if they have them. Okay? Thank you all so very much for being here. Thank you, everybody.